This is Wildcat Country.
Larson tipped it. Love has it. Lewis slams it, and Arizona wins it.
The inside scoop on the Arizona Wildcats.
It's Gunnar Maldonado. He's got blockers. Touchdown, Arizona.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bear down.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country presented by Harrah's Auction Casino. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale. It is our last show of 2024. Kind of an interesting year for Arizona. I think we had a lot higher hopes, Shane, than they actually produced. But hey, that's how some years go.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. If you're just looking at it from the calendar year perspective, there's plenty to like in 2024, at least in the first half, and some in the second half as well. If you're looking at it as a season, a 2024-25 season, not great. Not great, but we'll definitely discuss all of it.
Well, let's get right into it. We have a lot to talk about. Just you and me on the show this week. So we're going to break down, our favorite moments, least favorite moments of the year. A lot to get into, but this is Buy or Sell, or this segment formerly known as Buy or Sell, at least this week, presented by our friends at Ice Shaker. Go to iceshaker.com, use promo code Wildcat Country, capital W, capital C, and get $5 off your first purchase. And after you do so, please fill out the post-purchase survey and mention Wildcat Country. All right, Shane. Let's talk about the basketball game that we witnessed. We're recording this on Monday night, December 30th. Arizona just got done with a 90-81 victory over TCU. Just give me some initial thoughts on what you saw.
You didn't pick Arizona to cover, did you?
We did not. No, I did not. I had the under.
Good.
Whoops.
Good.
Yeah, well.
No.
The under was not good either. Let me tell you that.
No. Oh, yeah. You would have gone 0 for 2 if you would have taken the points. I wouldn't take Arizona with the points now, regardless of the situation. Look, the first thing, I'll say something nice to start. Outstanding assist-to-turnover ratio. More what we're used to. I mean, Tommy Lee's teams have not always been great in terms of turnovers, but they had single digits in turnovers and almost 30 assists, so that's very good to see. I think KJ Lewis had 8 of them, which is great. I don't know if you follow JG Trends, but they have kind of like a plus-minus system for all players in each college basketball game. And Henry Vesar actually was plus 25, according to them, the best Arizona player on the court, despite Caleb Love going off for over 30. Vesar looked sharp. It was and he definitely needed him against TCU. Defensively, too many easy baskets in the lane, not closing out on threes. I mean, if it's like TCU answered almost every, like Arizona never trailed, but it looked like they might run away with it early, and then it got close, and they just couldn't put TCU away for one reason or another. And TCU is not. I mean, they're probably an NIT team, and Arizona could be joining them if they don't prove their defense. So they got the win. This isn't the Arizona team that's going to beat average conference opponents by 20 points or more at home, at least not right now. So enjoy it. It gets a lot tougher at Cincinnati next week. But on offense solid, especially from 2-point range. Defense still a lot to be desired.
Shane, this team is not a tournament team. I'm going to stand by it. I've said this week after week after week. Some people thought I was crazy. I said this team's going to lose double-digit games. I think I said that at the start of the year. It was called crazy. This is their first win over a Power 5 team or Power 4 team since, if memory serves me correctly, Shane, I believe it would go back to the last game of the regular season last year that Arizona actually beat
tournament.
Right. Did they win a game in the conference tournament? I don't think so.
They won one. They lost to Oregon in the semis.
You're right. That's it. That the last time before tonight that they had beaten a Power 4 team was the first game of the Pac-12 tournament, and that was against USC on Thursday, March 14th.
After they
beat Long Beach State and Dayton. Right. Yeah. Oh, so and then they lost to Oregon, the next night, and Arizona had not beaten a Power 4 team since then. That is an absolutely mind-blowing stat.
Yeah, this was their best win of the season. Which if it's against Kansas or Iowa State, that's great. Against TCU, no. So look, they held serve at home. Wasn't pretty. They got the win. So look, it's either gonna be like this the rest of the season, or they're not making the tournament, or they're find ways to win while they figure it out. And hopefully it's the latter. But I didn't see I don't think we saw anything in this game that makes us think that they're on the verge of turning things around.
All right, so this site on or this account on X called JBR Bracketology broke down Arizona's resume. I thought it was a really good breakdown here. It says 12 of their 20 Big 12 games are quad one. Target record for a bid is 19 and 12, which means the rest of the season they need to go 12 and 7. They basically think that if they don't go 13 and 7, they very well could be out. 12 and 8 would be a 9 to 10 seed or out. They this JBR bracketology does not see them as being a last 14, where they do the play-in game. So 13 wins out of 20 is what we have to target. I got one. So you have to win 12 out of 19 the rest of the way.
That's pretty much what I said last week. And one of my favorite Arizona Wildcat follows on X, Red Hat Cat, noted that in last season, the last Big 12 team in was TCU. TCU went 21 and 12 overall, 9 and 9 in Big 12 play, had a net of 42. They were the last Big 12 team in. The first Big 12 team out was Oklahoma, and they went 20 and 12 overall, 8 and 10 in the conference, net of 46. So again, I'll go back to what I said last week. A dozen Big 12 wins plus one in the conference tournament would probably be enough. That aligns with what you just said. That get them to 20. Again, with a caveat, because not all wins are created equal, obviously. They need some wins over ranked teams, preferably with at least one or two of them coming on the road. And they need to avoid losing to teams in the bottom half of the conference. They do those things, they'll probably get in. But the difference between TCU last year going 9 and 9 in the Big 12, 9 and 9 is not going to cut it for Arizona because they lost too many non-conference games.
I think Arizona's tournament chances, to be honest, boil down. And I said that about UCLA, and I still think they're on the outside looking in. Yeah. I think this weekend, before you and I do another show in 2025, I think Arizona at Cincinnati at West Virginia, you have to get a split. I think if they don't get a split, you're out. I mean, that ramps up the pressure so much. You get a road win, especially get a little payback on West Virginia from what happened in the Bahamas. Hey, that's some good stuff. Cincinnati coming off a surprising loss at Kansas State, really, really hard to win on the road. And we'll make our picks at the end of the show. I don't really like Arizona's chances at Cincinnati, but at West Virginia, Shane, that game is an absolute must now.
Yeah, and it's a game they should have won in the Bahamas. They lost it in overtime. I mean, they should have won all three games they played in that tournament. But they also should have beaten UCLA. So a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas. But yeah, they're going to need to avoid some landmines. Beat against there are not a lot of bad teams in the Big 12, but they got to beat all the ones that are going to finish, that are going to be in the bottom half of the conference, and steal a couple of wins of games that they probably at this point aren't supposed to win.
Nice to see Henry Vasar play well. 15 points, as you mentioned, kind of at the outside, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Caleb Love was great, 33, 7, and 6. Fantastic. But only Jaden Bradley got to 10 points outside of that. You scored 90 points, and only 3 guys got double digits. What happened to the balance here?
Yeah, if it was like that every night, I'd agree with you. That doesn't concern me so much, though, because the rest of the team, outside of Caleb Love, the rest of the team still shot over 50% from the field. And even better than that if you just count 2-point baskets. So it's not like there weren't other contributors. Carter Bryant, I still want to see more out of. He was on the court for a reason late in the game. And he had a couple, he just looked a little hesitant, had a traveling call in when he probably should have just taken the ball to the hoop. Hopefully he gets a little more confident as the season goes forward because he's got a ton of potential. But I think Carter Bryant's maturation is going to be one of the big differences between whether this team gets to the tournament or not. They need someone else to step up, especially late in games. And I think that he's probably the most likely candidate.
I certainly hope so. I mean, they have to develop. Trey Townsend has been such a disappointment. Awaka has disappeared. Yeah. Del Orso barely played. He had no points. I mean, basically, Tommy played 7 men and just didn't play Del Orso after starting him. This team just has holes, and it's imperfect. And I have a hard time, Shane, seeing this team win more than maybe 11 and 9 in conference. I have a hard time seeing above that.
And I beat this drum every single week, Eric, but they missed Pelle Larsson. They missed him on both sides of the ball. He's such a difference maker, and this is the first team that Tommy Lloyd's had at Arizona that hasn't included Pelle Larsson. And they miss his defense late in games. They miss his clutch shooting, his free throws at the end of game. He was automatic late in games. He was a guy who, when the other team would make a run, he'd take a big charge and completely change the momentum of the game. They don't have anyone like that this year. And that's why I think that, one or two plays like that, like for example, something like that from Pelle Larsson against TCU, Arizona could have ended up winning that game by 15, 20 points. They could have covered because with the momentum that a play like that brings, that's something that could have changed the whole complexion of the game. But again, on offense, single digit turnovers, almost 30, I don't know, 27, 28 assists. So again, the unbalanced scoring, I'm not concerned about. The rest of the team contributed overall, shot well. So that doesn't concern me, but the defense definitely does.
Yeah, but this is not a good TCU team. I
No?
mean, and they should not have been in the game at all. This is a game
Yeah.
Arizona in previous years is winning, as you said, going away by double digits, whether they
Yeah.
cover the 15 or not. I mean, this is not a game where TCU should have been within a handful of points at any point throughout. They're
I agree.
missing their best player, Frankie Collins. It's not to give up 81 points to a team that was having major offensive troubles. I am very concerned, but this weekend will tell us more. I mean, the next two games on the road
Yeah.
will tell us more.
Well, and I kind of feel the same way about, remember when the football team beat Houston? They
Yeah.
beat them easily, and we're like, no, they just beat a crap team. They didn't look very good, and let's see if they can, build on that the next week, and they didn't. So I kind of feel the same way about this win.
All right, let's talk about Brent Brennan and the Wildcats football team. So the last time we talked about a week and a half ago, they had gotten Sategi to be the offensive coordinator. Give me a grade on Brent Brennan's offseason to this point.
I'd say a B plus. I mean, I think the hire of Seth Agee was very good. He still lost a lot of talent in the portal, not as much as you might have thought. Yeah, I did a super scientific poll on X. I asked fans if they felt better, worse, or the same since the transfer portal opened. 53.6% said better. 37.7% said no change. 8.8% said worse. That's a little better than I expected because I
it's
figured
91% said, at least what they thought. Yeah.
At least not worse. Yeah. But, I figured most fans would say no change, with the attitude being that, okay, they've made some nice ads in the portal. They've kept some top players, including Noah Fafita, but I just don't trust Brent Brennan and the coaching staff to do any better next year based on what we saw in 2024. I figured that would be the default perspective, and maybe still is. But I think I never really thought I'd never really doubted his ability and the staff's ability to bring in some quality players. I mean, they haven't been landing, the 4 or 5-star transfers. They never were going to, but they've landed some 3-star guys and some FCS guys that were stars and have a lot of upside. And I kind of would rather land those guys than guys who were 4 or 5 stars out of college and have done nothing since they went, or out of high school and done nothing since they went to college. So I give them a B plus. They lost a lot of guys, and I think they still have a lot of holes to fill. But I think it's and by the way, they still need a defensive coordinator. But
it's gonna be Danny Gonzalez. I mean,
I think, but it hasn't been announced yet.
No, but I think it probably will be. All right, here's what I think is important here, and why I'm going to give them probably an A minus here to be able to retain Genesis Smith and Dalton Johnson and Traden Stukes. That is something that I thought all three were long gone. In fact, I thought ASU might be in play for 1 or 2 of those guys. They lost Jacob Manu to Washington. Takario Davis is probably going to go visit there at some point.
Gunnar Maldonado went to K-State. By the way, a couple months ago, we altered the intro that has the Gunnar Maldonado play against Oklahoma in there. If you're listening, leave a comment. Let us know, should we change that going into next year with another big Arizona football play, or do you want to leave it as is?
I still think it's an impactful Arizona play.
Sure.
And so listen, the guys he went for Northwestern, Arizona, and Kansas State. He just wanted to stay in the Wildcats family.
Wildcats,
simple as that. So I think Brennan bringing back those 3 guys made a difference. Listen, I don't like Braden Locke as a starting quarterback. He wasn't very good at Wisconsin, but as a backup,
he's a backup.
Backup, it's a good signing. They brought in Mahdi from Texas State at running back. They got the kid from Utah, Mike Mitchell, I believe his name is. So the running back room is going to be good. And they brought in some receivers, getting Spivey out of Kansas State. That's a pretty good job. They have brought in some really interesting players. Now, the defense still is a problem, and they have to get better on both lines. on the
Oh yeah.
offensive line and defensive line. Yeah.
And then they've addressed that in the portal. They have a long way to go. But oh, by the way, Trey Spivey's dad, Junior Spivey, just followed Wildcat Country on X. So
Is that
kind
right?
of yeah.
Junior Spivey. Oh
I remember
yeah.
watching him play for the D-backs back in the day. I remember him hitting the game-winning home run in 2001 and on their way to the World Series. So anyway, not but getting back to the football, nothing that's happened so far in the portal has surprised me much. They've done a good job adding some depth to the skill positions and up front. They're currently 18th nationally in the 24/7 transfer portal rankings,
Great.
third in the Big 12. Right now, my two big questions are: has Arizona added or will they add enough talent and depth up front on both sides of the ball to be more competitive in 2025? I think most of Arizona's drop off from 2023 to 24 could be contributed to the fact they typically won those battles in the trenches on both sides in 23, and they typically lost them in 24. It's pretty simple. So far, they've added 4 offensive linemen, a D lineman, a couple of edge rushers, so they're off to a good start. Other question: can Noah Fafita take a step forward after taking a step back last year? I think you can contribute some of his regression to the O line, but not all of it. And of course, he won't have T Mac, who he's thrown to for
Right.
almost the last decade for the
Right.
first time next year. So they added some decent wideouts in the portal. Hopefully, they'll add more. Hopefully, Seth Dagey will help Noah take that next step and get back to where he was. But those are the two biggest concerns for me as of now. And there's certainly plenty of concerns beyond that as well. But to me, those are the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, no question about it. I think the lines of scrimmage are the big key here. I think Arizona has to get better. But I'll tell you what, Brent's done a pretty good job. Does that mean I think they're going to win X many games? Let's see what the schedule looks like, and then we can talk about it. But I think
Yeah.
going in, and I know we're going to talk about like predictions coming up here. Going into 2025, Shane, I would say best case scenario for Arizona 6-6, and I'd
Yeah,
be happy with that.
probably.
And I'd
Probably.
be, don't get embarrassed by ASU at the end of the year, but 6-6 and get to a small bowl game. Yeah, I'd be pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
That'd be progress.
Expectations change year to year and week to
Yeah.
week. And unfortunately, we are looking at a rebuild. And, um, it might not be too far off, especially with the portal now. You can rebuild pretty quickly. The big question is, of course, is Brent Brennan cut out for the role? And that I've defended him a lot. I actually thought he was going to be gone after the ASU game. I'm sort of glad he
Really?
has a chance. Yeah, I thought so. It just felt that way, just because, mainly because the current athletic director didn't hire him. Um, but I get why he was retained, and I think it'd be a great story if he did well at Arizona, and I hope hope he still can, but he's got a lot to prove.
Well, we shall find out. Next year is going to be a fascinating year, but we'll have the schedule to break down at some point in January. It's kind of crazy that it's not out yet, but it gives us something more to talk about,
Yep.
especially what looks like it's going to be a long 8 months, Shane, 9 months, between January 1st and August 31st or August 30th when the first game is. It's gonna be a lengthy time. A lot of we always say, what are we gonna talk about? This year it's gonna
Never a
get
shortage. Yeah.
it's gonna get interesting. All right, let's talk. Let's kind of recap 2024 while we're here. Your favorite moment of 2024 for Arizona athletics?
I'm going to cheat and name two. I'm
Okay.
going to mention the day the men's basketball team rallied and beat UCLA at McHale Center, partly because it was a big come from behind win, but mostly because of that feel good moment where the football team came out onto the court. Noah, T Mac, so many faces from the previous year. We thought all those guys were gone when Jed Fish left, and then they all joined Brennan on the court to the U of A chants during the timeout. Of course, we know what happened after that, but that day, that moment, I thought was really, really cool and kind of a nice display of just unity among the different programs and the university and the fans. And then the final Pac-12 game ever, or at least as we knew the Pac-12, Arizona baseball rallying to beat USC up here in the Valley to win the Pac-12 tournament was an awesome moment. Again, we don't have to talk about what happened after that, but it was essentially a home game for the Wildcats, the final game on Pac-12 Network. Chip Hale deserves a lot of credit for the season that Arizona had in 2024 and to be regular season and conference champions in the final year of the Pac-12 as we knew it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going to say baseball was the highlight of the year for me because nobody really had many expectations for this team, and they came out and played they won the regular season title. You're like, well, what happened? All right, they can't do that again. And then to walk it off like that in the Pac-12 tournament, as you said, the last Pac-12 moment ever. I mean, it's crazy that
Yeah.
that they were able to do that. I think you're right about the UCLA basketball game. That I kind of forgot about that. The football team's disappointment this year kind of masked that moment, but it was really
Yeah.
exciting. I would say the most disappointing moment for me was when Jed Fish went to Washington. I think that is
Yeah.
the biggest disappointment because you had all these hopes and dreams of what ASU is going through right now, and now those are gone when he went to Washington.
Yeah, I think that has to be it. I can try to be creative and try to think of something else, but I think that, that was a bit of a heartbreaker after thinking, where Arizona football is relevant again. The future looks bright. We're the best team by far in the state, and that seems like years ago, decades ago now. But there, that, and you could pick any number of football games from this past year, and then of course, as it has become custom in March, the men's basketball team bowing out earlier than we would have liked was certainly up there in disappointment as well. And then the baseball team, bowing out at regionals. But yeah, I think of all of them, Jed Fish was the biggest gut punch. You survived a lot of landmines with him possibly going to this school or that, and then finally he leaves for Washington. He would have left anyway, maybe after this year, but you were hoping for at least one more solid year of relevant Arizona football, and we didn't get it, and that's unfortunate.
All right, give me a bold prediction. I always like to ask Moreno for this when he comes
Yeah, I
on the
know.
show. Give me a bold prediction for something that is going to happen in 2025 related to Arizona.
Would it be? It's kind of crazy, but would it be bold to predict that the men's basketball team is going to make the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I'll sidestep that for now, and I will make the prediction that the softball team is going to get back to the College World Series. You asked for a bold prediction, and then it's their first year in Big 12 play. They added some good pitching, which has been missing. So I think this is I mean, it hasn't been that long since they've been there, but they don't routinely get there like they did back in the glory Mike Candrea days. So I will predict that the softball team will get back there in 25.
All right, I will say this is kind of a tough one. I'll say Arizona football. I hate doing this, Shane. Arizona football is going to make a bowl game. We're going to go 6-6.
No,
And
I
I
like
mean,
it.
listen, I just, and I'm still not going to keep my season tickets, just because the games are on too late. I'll still
Yeah.
go to plenty of games. I'll go to 3 or 4 games depending on start times, but I'm not driving down for 8:15 starts anymore. That's a thing of the past where I wouldn't stay down. Like going down for an 8:15 start and then driving back up after the game is the definition of insanity, and I'm kind of over it.
Well, the
Uh,
older you get to, I feel like it's just like exponentially more difficult every year to do it, regardless of their record.
The other couple other bold predictions. My streak of going to Arizona ASU games in non-COVID years will be snapped. I don't know if I'm going to want to go, even unless the Wildcats are 6-5 going into that game, which I guess that's fair. I mean, I said they're going to make a bowl game. If
Yeah.
they're not, that's snapped. The other bold prediction, not necessarily related to Arizona. I don't think Deion Sanders coaches another game at Colorado.
Mm, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I
Yeah. Where do you think he's going?
I think he is going to middle of the spring to say, oh, well, for health reasons, I'm stepping aside and going to screw the Colorado program and open up a flood of transfers of all the, including the 5-star quarterback they had come in there. Just a hunch. I mean, Colorado fans, probably get upset, but that'd be my hunch play.
You think he's going to the NFL?
No, I think he's just going to step aside and just kind of not do anything. I think he wanted to coach his
Hmm.
kids. Assuming Shiloh goes pro, I do not see Dion coming
Interesting.
back. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
I can see the Florida State job opens up. He would if he got offered. I mean, he'd bolt for that. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we talked about even before Dion coached a game that he was going to be at Colorado for more than 3 years, one way or the other. I still think I don't know about this year, but I still feel good about the 3 year thing. I don't think he's going to stay in Boulder, Colorado for the long term. I don't think there's any universe in which that's going to happen.
No, I don't think so. And they got completely exposed by BYU, and I have to say
Yeah.
I was here for it. Good for BYU in the Alamo Bowl. Funny, Arizona won the Alamo Bowl last year, beat Oklahoma, and a Oklahoma team that everybody had kind of hyped and kind of threw Arizona out, not as great. Listen, BYU went 11-2. Good for them.
Yeah.
Had a great season.
Great season. Yep.
We will come back and make, but before this segment ends, I want to say this. We lost a couple of guests, unfortunately, who had been on this program over the past few years. Heath Bray, wonderful guy, and Bill Walton, who we happen to have on, both passed away in 2024. Two great losses, and I just want to touch on that because those are some
Good
really
call.
cool interviews to have both those guys on.
Good mention there. Yeah, and again, I'll tell the story real quick with Bill Walton. He came on our Zoom chat, and then he asked how long do we have? And I said, well, we had a 40-minute Zoom window, but I've been on for about 10 minutes, so we're gonna have maybe 25 to 30. And he said, oh no, you're gonna want to start the Zoom over because I'm gonna go the full 40. And sure enough, he did. Like you barely got, like it cut off right at 40. Like it's like he. Like I said, like love you guys, and Eric, you said we love you too, Bill, and then like it literally cut off after that. We had no way to get back in touch with him, so I told the Pac-12 Network PR lady, I said, just please thank Bill for his time. So he was, getting to see a little bit behind the scenes before we started. It was definitely a little bit of an act with him. Like, he knew the role he was supposed to play, but it was a lot of fun to talk to. I think we got 4 questions in that 40 minutes. And then with Heath, obviously a very sudden loss and very sad. And again, I mentioned this before when I was putting together my book on the rivalry. Someone at U of A reached out to alumni on my behalf saying, hey, this guy's writing a book, get in touch with him. Here's his email address if you want to. And the first email I got was from Heath Bray with the subject line, mustard and rust. Of course, referring to ASU's colors. So he despised the Sun Devils as much as anyone. He was a great interview, and it's a shock to all of us to and I'm sure to his family as well when he passed way too soon.
Gone too soon, no question about that. Just wanted to mention both of those, but it's been a fun year, and we will make predictions in our final segment. But first, I want to thank our great sponsor, Harrah's Auction Casino. Easy for me to say, who we were able to bring on in 2024, and that was a highlight for me. If you have no New Year's plans, check this out, and you're listening to this in time here. Hey, Wildcat fans, get ready to ring in 2025 at Harrah's Auction Casino with the country music vibes. Double Grammy nominees Midland, celebrated for their deep melodic harmonies, tart lyrics, and famed steel guitar. This exclusive event will sell out fast. Get your tickets now. Your evening won't end when the last chord is strummed. Harrah's Auction Casino is also hosting an epic after party with zero cover charge. So bear down, make this New Year's Eve one for the record books, only at Harrah's Auction Casino. Play for all. So if you're listening to this on New Year's Eve day, you don't have any plans, head out to Maricopa. See, I'm sure that they can accommodate you, and you can enjoy the dulcet tones of Midland, who has a U of A connection, by the way. So check that out, and want to thank our buddy Mike Kintner and all his staff over at Harrah's Auction Casino for being so welcoming. And I hope that in 2025, as they remain a sponsor with us, that we can get out there and do a show, and hopefully some of you can come and join us out there as well. Coming up next, Shane and I will make some picks for the New Year's Six Bowl, or I guess I should say the college football playoff, plus Arizona's road trip on the East Coast, or in the Midwest on the East, or whatever you want to call Cincinnati and West Virginia, here on Wildcat Country.
Discover more Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino.
Hi folks, here are your drinks.
Where having fun means racking up reward credits with the Caesars Rewards loyalty program that can be redeemed for food, free play, hotel stays, and more. Not only here in the city of Maricopa, but also at more than 50 Caesars properties coast to coast. From Harrah's Las Vegas to Caesars Palace in Atlantic City. What are you waiting for? Play for all at Harrah's Auction Casino, the official sponsor of Play.
All right, Shane, it's time for the final segment of Wildcat Country in 2024. I went 2-2 in the bowl picks for the first round of the college football playoff. You went 1-3 against the spread. I'm up by 6 on the year. Your Tennessee money line special did not work out.
Not so much.
Let's see what you have for us this time around. Let's start in the Fiesta Bowl on New Year's Eve. I will be there. Boise State against Penn State. The Nittany Lions are giving 10.5 points. Who you got?
Oh, I would love to pick Boise State. I mean, this is kind of their bowl game, and as we know,
it is their bowl game.
Yeah. This is their game. But yeah, I think Penn State's just too good right now. I mean, I don't know if I buy them as national champs, but I think Genty's going to get his. I think Penn State ends up finding a way to cover.
I think Penn State finds a way to cover as well. I think they win this game by more than two scores. Offensively, they've been impressive. And I think Boise State, great year, but we're both going with Penn State. How about Arizona State getting 13 and a half points against Texas? Now, I picked Texas to win the national championship, Shane, but I think
Yeah.
ASU covers by the slightest of margins. Texas 30, ASU 17, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think any Wildcat fan clinging to the idea that ASU just is not the real deal. I think, look, they are. They kind of faked it till they made it this year. They won a lot of close games against average teams, but lately they've uh, been outstanding. I mean, they blew out a very good Iowa State team. Now that the big layoff, it'll be really interesting to see how that affects these teams. A long layoff, and Texas, I think, is just a better team. I The home field advantage. I kind of wonder about. Are a lot of fans from Austin gonna travel for this game when they know that they're hoping their Texas is gonna have a couple more after this, so it might be kind of even. Scatterboo probably gets his. I think it's gonna be a close game too. I think Arizona State's gonna make a very good showing. I think Texas wins by a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think Arizona State covers late, but I think ASU's been running their mouths too much. Sam Levitt, Cam Scatterboo. You don't give Texas extra motivation. What are you doing?
We'll see.
It's just stupid. All right, Oregon, Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. I can't believe the Buckeyes are favored by 2.5 points, but I think they're going to win the game outright. Shane, I picked this. At the start, I told you I thought all four teams were going to win that won in the first round, and I'm sticking with it. That Oregon, undefeated, gets a bad draw and goes down, and I think the Buckeyes cover. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a shame this game is taking place this early in the playoffs. I kind of it's tough because I kind of feel like Ohio State's a better team, but I picked Oregon to win it all before the season started, and they certainly can beat Ohio State again. So give me the Ducks to I guess they're if they win they cover. So give me the Ducks.
All right. How about Notre Dame and Georgia? Georgia is favored by 1.5 points in the Sugar Bowl, but they have a backup quarterback in Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah, I know Notre Dame's going to be the sexy pick here, but I'm going to go with Georgia. I think Stockton looked plenty capable in the game against Texas. I think they do enough. I'm not as bullish on their national championship hopes now, but I think they find a way to get past the Irish.
All right. I'm going Notre Dame here. Notre Dame was my pick to make the national championship game. I know they lost a
Yep.
key player on defense, but I'll tell you what, I just don't trust Georgia with a backup quarterback. Notre Dame very good against the run. Georgia, had been having success with Carson Beck as a passer. Gunnar Stockton is going to have to elevate his play, and no team has been hotter of late, other than Oregon, I guess, than Notre Dame. So I'm going with the Fighting Irish to win a big game for once. And I know that's a risky pick, but I'm rolling with it. Let's make a couple of basketball picks, Shane. You've gotten three correct. I have gotten absolutely none of them correct thus far. Let's go Arizona at Cincinnati on Saturday in the afternoon. How many will the Bearcats win by?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the metric off the top of my head, but there's the metric out there that has the top 10 teams in defensive efficiency right now. It's not Ken Palm, it's a different one, but it has UCLA or Duke number one, UCLA number three. We saw how Arizona did against both of those teams. Cincinnati's in the top 10. They're like number nine, I think. They're coming off a loss to Kansas State. They're not going to be happy. They're at home. I think Cincinnati wins that game by 10 or so. I think I'll be somewhat optimistic and say Arizona finds a way to get past West Virginia. They're a better team. They should win that game. They have to get a. This is the kind of trip where they have to get a split. They have to if they're going to make the tournament. So I'd love to see them get both. Realistically, they might lose both. This is my version of optimism, America. I'm going to take a split, a loss to Cincinnati and a win at West Virginia.
So you stole my thunder here, Shane. I was going to say Arizona loses to Cincinnati by double digits and beats West Virginia by 3. Just a hunch play, and we'll be back. We'll record, probably next Tuesday or Wednesday, and kind of break it down. What we
I need to
saw
tell you
against-
how many points I'm gonna. I'll say Arizona by 5. How's that? For
Okay, by
optimism?
5.
Against
Okay,
West Virginia. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going by 3. I don't think the Wildcats are going to be favored either way. I think the Mountaineers will be. West Virginia has a nice little winning streak, but they play Kansas on New Year's Eve day, which is tomorrow, and probably will lose in Lawrence. But they're a decent team, probably have an outside chance at making the tournament. That is a must-win game for Arizona, and you and I both, surprisingly, are picking them. Just keep hope alive, that's what I want. Any final thoughts, Shane, just on anything related to 2024 and looking ahead to 2025?
Yeah, well, I always say savor the good times because you never know when they're gonna be gone, and we learned that we were reminded that again, even more so than I expected in 2024. But you know what? On the flip side, the bad times don't always last forever either. What's the cliche? It's always darkest right before the dawn. It's a new year's about to start. You never know what could happen, and fortunes change in college athletics faster than they ever have. And Arizona could be back on top. Maybe the basketball team ends up getting hot. I'll believe it when I see it, but that's certainly a possibility. Football team can turn things around starting next year. Maybe the baseball team surprises us. Softball team does some good things. So always things to look forward to. And again, savor the good times when they happen. And the GM at ABC 15 always used to say, don't get too high with the highs and too low with the lows. There's all ebbs and flows to everything, including athletics, including college athletics. And I've enjoyed win or lose, Eric, I enjoy doing this podcast. Like we talk about, it's good therapy for us, for the people who listen. We appreciate very much everyone who has taken the time to listen and watch over the last several years. Any thoughts on the new year, what you'd like us to do more of, less of, let us know. We're always open to constructive criticism. Appreciate it very much, and excited for 2025, whatever comes.
Well, I think you echoed. I mean, boy, you and I, you and I are thinking alike on this show. It's rare. I just want to thank everybody for listening to us and watching us on YouTube and leaving comments, whether good or bad. You don't always have to agree with us. I don't think that agreeing with us all the time would make it fun. You want to disagree. We want to get you to think when you watch or listen to the show. We want you to think differently. And I think Shane and I, we don't always agree. We don't agree, in fact, often. But we get you to think, and we can listen to differing viewpoints. And that's one thing that I really appreciate this show, and I'm looking forward to continuing that in 2025. Thanks to our sponsors. Want to thank, of course, Ice Shaker, and most importantly, Harrah's Auction Casino, who we were very glad to get on as a sponsor of this program.
Very thankful for their support. Absolutely.
So, Happy New Year to all out there. For Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. A great and exciting 2025 to all. And as always, bear down.